in this household, we're not like Starbucks removing Merry Christmas from our cups, okay? Nate and I are Christmas guys. Yeah, that's just kind of what it comes down to. But regardless of what you celebrate or what you enjoy, I think that one of the best holiday or Christmas games out there for superhero fans, we've already talked about Arkham Origins, talked about it many times, I'm sure it'll come back, but one that was not really expected, kind of came out of nowhere, was Miles Morales. I don't really think when they, were going to do a Miles Morales game that people expected it to be a holiday season game, but I think it's fun how it just is a little short experience. It's a full game, but it's somewhere between the length of a standalone DLC game and a Spider-Man 1 or 2 from Insomniac, I would say. And it just kind of fits into that season in a lot of fun ways. So we're going to talk about that today. But I do have a question of the day for you, which is, what is your favorite game to play this time of year? I mean, for me, probably Arkham Origins, but Miles Morales is a very close second.
I like playing FIFA.
Oh, that makes sense. Thank you. Very Christmassy.
Fitting,
yeah. So I'm going to hit you with the hard-hitting facts first off.
Okay.
Like, we have the logic...
Benjamin Shapiro here.
I'm dropping my pants and pulling out my logic log because this is something fascinating. If you look around in the game, there is snow.
Wow, yeah.
Literary,
you are correct. Yeah.
Literary analysis time. Obviously, this is the most basic, whatever, observation of the game.
Yeah.
But it kind of reminds me of Arkham Origins where, yes, it's pretty much, I would say Origins does a lot of different things with the map, but it's using assets from the previous game. It's using things from Insomniac Spider-Man 1, except it's kind of putting a Christmas coat over the whole thing with decorations and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool because there was like Christmas lights set up in places and like a Christmas tree and things like that. But they kind of did the same thing with Miles Morales, where it's very Christmassy. It's not just snow, but they have like Christmas decorations around, and it also was kind of cool because they gave Miles Morales a specific outfit that was very wintry / Christmassy themed.
Yeah, I believe
he
that's
had, like,
the
a
one.
Stocking cap and a scarf and things like that. It was kind of neat.
And that's after you do the mission line for Haley, right?
Yeah.
Like that little mission for Haley.
Yeah, and then she gives you the scarf. It just works.
Something you pointed out, by the way, over there, Todd Howard, is that the NPCs also fit the season.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the NPCs fit the season. There's special dialogue that they say that's Christmassy themed. Their outfits obviously are Christmassy themed. I mean, again, it's kind of a vague description, but they're wearing like coats.
Yeah,
they're wearing hats.
The way you're describing it makes it feel like we're reaching for a video topic here.
No,
We actually do have more to say.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. No, one thing you pointed out though is that it's like window dressing to the story. Like I would say that Christmas takes more of a center stage in Arkham Origins. The music is Christmassy. Like you have Carol of the Bells. It's mixed into Joker's song.
Yeah,
things like that. But with this game, there's even a full-on Christmas dinner. Remember that? It's a whole section with Miles.
Yeah, and Finn at this Christmas dinner.
And Genki.
Everyone's favorite Genki. Yes.
Well, don't you remember that?
Cannot forget about Genki.
You got to go through the apartment and you got to set up things for Christmas, and then Genki decides to knock down a bowl and then run away like a pussy in front of MILF mom Rio Morales.
Right, yeah.
Unfortunate, because he blew his shot with that, whereas I would have blown my shot in that. But regardless of Rio Morales being the hottest MILF mom in superhero gaming, I thought that this was kind of fun, that you have a whole segment where it actually humanizes Miles. It takes him out of the suit and makes him walk around. And normally in superhero games, when these things happen, you're like... like the MJ segments in the first game. Yeah. It's not exactly super fun, where they take you out of being the superhero in the suit and go do something else. But I actually thought this fit into the story very well without taking center stage like it does sometimes in Origins.
Yeah, I mean, it did humanize Miles, as a character. It kind of made you get into the eyes of him as a person as opposed to him as a superhero, which I think is actually very interesting. Let's see his personal life. I'm actually being serious.
Yeah.
Like, it is kind of interesting. Let's go into his room. Let's go into
Rio's room. Her toy drawer, see what's in there.
Let's go into Genki's room, too. Something that I don't think Arkham in general did very well that I liked with Miles Morales and the Spider-Man 1 and 2 is... I actually like when the superheroes take off their masks. I think that's kind of interesting. Like, let's see them as a person. Yeah. In Arkham, you're mainly just playing as Batman. You know, there's a couple times where Batman comes back to the Batcave in Arkham Origins, and you're talking with Alfred. You know, there's a couple times for that, but for the most part, you're just Batman.
Well, what's interesting is with Origins, too, I would argue, yeah, it's not all the time, but that's one of the strongest in the Arkham franchise, where it's like the Rocksteady games, it's even less.
Yeah.
There's not really a lot of Bruce as a person showing through the mask of Batman.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of it is Batman kind of Bruce being Batman. And there's actually a moment I really like, without heavy spoilers, in Batman Arkham Shadow, which I've been playing recently, which is, you know, a soft sequel in a lot of ways to Origins.
Yeah.
And in this moment, you're actually talking to Dr. Leslie Tompkins. It reminded me of the thing you said about Miles. And he talks to her in his Batman voice, and she's like, don't talk to me in that voice. And then he talks in like a fake voice, you know, because he's talking his matches Malone. She's like, don't use that voice either. And then he goes to his Bruce voice, like his normal voice.
Plus, he's caving into people.
Well, yeah, exactly. But that's someone who helped raise him.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's someone kind of like Alfred in his life, where you see the elements of being a human shine through. And I think you're right. You don't see that as often, really, in any of the Arkham games. You see it the most in those Origins ones, like Origins, Blackgate, and Shadows, or Arkham Shadow. But you see it less in Rocksteady, whereas Batman games are always being compared to Spider-Man games, especially when you look at a Christmas one like Origins and Miles. It's hard to talk about one without the other, because they're the closest to each other in theme, right? Yeah. But I think Miles, like you said, and those Insomniac Spider-Man games, they do a really good job of like, okay, what's Peter up to? What's Miles up to? What are these characters doing? What are they thinking?
Yeah, and that to me makes the character more interesting. Now, I love the way Rocksteady did Batman, so I'm not saying like that sucks or something, but I think they did a fantastic job with the games. But I think it's more interesting to get into the character itself if you can actually see the person.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something I really liked about the Insomniac Spider-Man games.
Kind of doing both.
Yeah, they do both. You know, in the Spider-Man 1 and 2, you see a lot of Peter Parker. You do see a lot of MJ, unfortunately, but you see a lot of Peter Parker. You get to see some of his backstory, some of his personal life. And in number 2, you can see his relationship with Harry and whatnot.
Especially the high school stuff was one of my favorite things.
I think that stuff is very interesting.
And I think Miles does that a lot.
Yeah, it does. And then when you actually go into the Spider-Man suit and you're fighting villains, you feel more connected with that character because you got to see some of that character's personal life. So that's something I think Miles Morales did very well. And even like the missions of like the Christmas dinner, like we're talking about, where you're just walking around his apartment, that stuff's fun.
Well, there was one too.
Interesting.
Remember the one on the bridge where you were going to Rio's campaign rally?
Yeah.
And basically it kind of, you're walking through, you talk to obviously Uncle Aaron, and you are walking with Genki, and there's Christmas stuff everywhere. It's kind of like a holiday festival in New York. Mm-hmm. Again, that's another thing where I didn't find that boring. If you actually look around, there's a lot of details packed into that area. There's even some NPCs from the first game that are in that area where Miles knows these people. Mm-hmm. And again, that's something else that's humanizing. I agree completely. I don't want to spend the whole video comparing it, but I do think that there is certainly like a connection you feel when you're Peter and you work with Doc Ock in the first game and then you have to fight him.
Yeah.
That maybe you wouldn't feel if you're just going to fight Mr. Freeze as Batman. Because you don't have that personal human connection to him. You feel bad for him. Mm-hmm. You feel empathy, but it's not like a personal narrative-driven thing. Spider-Man's also been criticized for doing way too many villains directly connected to Peter and Miles, though, which I understand. There's a lot of circumstance there that everyone they know turns out to be a supervillain.
Yeah, it's like, pretty much.
They got some bad luck going on there. But I do think it's actually fun because, yeah, like you said, it puts you behind the mask. And with the holiday season especially, it's interesting to see Christmas operate as a setting in Miles, but not take center stage, where there's always something Christmassy going on, but the plot isn't about Christmas.
Yeah, and I think one good comparison for this is, I should say another good one, the Hawkeye TV show. Like the Disney Plus TV show for Hawkeye. It's another show where it's actually based around Christmas. Mm-hmm. New York itself is set up in like a Christmassy themed. There's a tree everywhere. There's obviously snow. I think that's a good comparison because I didn't feel like it was a Christmas show.
Right.
Like it's not like Frosty the Snowman or something like that where it's like obviously Christmas. But it's definitely an important theme for the storyline of the show.
Kind of like Die Hard.
Yeah, kind of like Die Hard.
It's happening. I mean, I think it's fun to call Die Hard a Christmas movie because it's fun to watch during that. But people will argue it's not about Christmas, which I think is kind of what the distinction is.
Yeah, Christmas is a part of it, but it's not the main theme.
Whereas in Origins, it does kind of feel like every other, couple of dialogue bits, someone's mentioning the time of year. Right. Here, it's just coming up a lot. Yeah. Instead.
Yeah, here it's just, you can tell it's part of the setting.
Yeah, and I think it makes New York unique.
Yeah.
It makes it... Because if you just had New York... This is another thing real quick. If you just had New York from Spider-Man 1 with no change, I think it would feel really lazy. Now, at the end of the day, what did they change? There's a few things. They threw snow on top of stuff. They winterized it. They did these holiday decorations. People talking about the holiday. So in that way, it's... You can sit there, and I've seen criticism, it's just the same map. It is, sure. But to me, it feels like an updated version of that map, where if you wanted to just play a normal Spider-Man game, you play Spider-Man 1 or 2. But if you're wanting to play a superhero game in the Christmas or holiday season, you can play Miles, and it's really fun for that, but you don't have to be preached at about the holiday the entire time.
Right.
And I think that's kind of neat.
Yeah, no, I agree. It gives it some character.
Yeah, I mean, it gives it a very unique identity.
Yeah. It's a lot different than 1 and 2, Spider-Man 1 and 2. Well, and even on top of that, too, Spider-Man 2, I thought, yes, it did have the same map as 1 and Miles, but they also added a whole new section onto Spider-Man 2, so that one even felt unique as well.
Yeah.
I think that's something that Insomniac has done very well in their Spider-Man games is... You have Spider-Man 1, which is a pretty huge map. It's pretty amazing.
And it's got a lot of Easter eggs and details. Right.
And then with Miles Morales, it was like, well, how do we update this map so it doesn't just feel the same? Let's make a Christmas theme.
Well, yeah.
And then Spider-Man 2, they basically doubled the size of the map.
Well, and then something I really like about this one, too, is that it's also... Well, like you said, they updated the map, but they also made it a more succinct story.
Yeah.
Now, personally, do I think that maybe Spider-Man 1 is a bit stronger of a story? Probably, yeah. I think maybe, the Tinkerer is not quite as good of a villain in this game.
Right.
But I do think that it's a more succinct and to-the-point story. You can play through it quicker. And sometimes that's actually what you want. Every game tries to be huge. Every game tries to be super unique. Something fun about Miles is taking the things that Spider-Man 1 did well, expanding them a little bit, adding tricks, adding different costumes, adding different powers, adding different things to the city that give it that character, and then letting the player out into it as kind of an updated playground where it's not just, hey, we palette swapped Peter for Miles, have fun. They actually do both feel like Spider-Man, but they feel like different Spider-Men in a different time of the year. There was a part at the beginning there that was a little rough. Well, they got hats. What the hell was that? I like the idea that someone plays a game, later they play MLB, they're like, Christmas! Because the guy has a hat on.
Well, I don't know, you wear hats in the winter, you don't wear hats in the summer.
You're right, I'm sorry.
So there we go.
You solved it. So anyway, let us know what you think in the comments down below. This is one of our favorite winter Christmas games. I actually did make a top 5 of my 5 favorite winter or Christmas games to play during this time of year, I think a year or two ago, so that's on the channel. Lots of fun stuff. I try to do at least 1 or 2 videos around these holidays, make it fun. But if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe. We actually have a Let's Play channel where we played through Miles Morales. We played through a lot of different games, superhero games, non-superhero games. Right now we're playing through COD MW2. Fun stuff down there. We have an RPG channel. We have an anime-focused channel, so those things are down there. And we have our own store, CosmoBunny.shop. My wife runs this. She makes new transformative art out of old paper. We don't print images. What these are things like coasters and keychains and trays made out of recycled paper from comics, manga, magazines, different things that are damaged. And what we do is we take those, turn them into something new for your home, save them from the landfill, and then we recycle the rest and keep it out of the trash. So we appreciate you. Hope you have a fantastic day. Code DJAY123 on there for 10% off your first purchase. And that same code is our Fortnite supporter creator code. So see you in the next one. As always, everybody, stay shway.